In the summer of 2026, the political landscape of the United States remains as polarized as ever, personified by the towering granite faces of South Dakota. BBC correspondent Sarah Smith stands at the base of Mount Rushmore, investigating a proposition that has moved from a fringe meme to a serious political debate: the addition of Donald Trump to the monument. This isn't just about stone, it's about the narrative of American history and the legacy of a president who continues to dominate the headlines. As the wind sweeps through the Black Hills, the practical challenges are as immense as the political ones. The mountain's stability is fragile, yet the ambition of Trump's supporters remains rock solid.
Beyond the borders of the mainland, the gaze of the great powers has shifted north. Greenland, once seen as a remote frozen island, has been thrust back into the global spotlight. This isn't just a repeat of historical interest, it is a calculated move for the future. Underneath the thick, melting ice sheets lies one of the most politically explosive prizes on the planet. This territory is no longer just about scenic glaciers. It's about the vast reserves of oil, gas, and uranium that are becoming accessible as the climate shifts. The United States, China, and Russia are all locked in a silent scramble for dominance, recognizing that whoever controls Greenland controls the gateway to the Arctic. The scandal unfolding today isn't just about resources. It's about the 57,000 Greenlanders who find themselves pawns in a high-stakes game. These citizens, primarily of Inuit descent, are being pulled into a struggle for independence and survival. Denmark finds itself in an impossible position, caught between its historic sovereignty and the aggressive interests of its NATO allies and Eastern rivals. The military value of Greenland cannot be overstated. It is the ultimate high ground between North America and Europe. As the ice thins, the political tension thickens, and the residents of this frozen land are forced to decide which superpower they can trust to protect their future.
In Eastern Europe, a seismic shift has occurred that no one predicted. Alexander Lukashenko, the long-standing dictator of Belarus and a man long considered Vladimir Putin's most loyal puppet, has effectively surrendered to Ukrainian pressure. This isn't a military defeat in the traditional sense, but a strategic capitulation. After Kyiv issued a blistering ultimatum regarding Belarusian involvement in the war, Lukashenko made a move that left the Kremlin in a state of shock. By distancing himself from Moscow's war machine, Lukashenko has exposed the reality of Russia's loosening grip over its closest allies. The Iron Brotherhood is rusting, and Putin is watching his influence in Minsk evaporate in real time.
While the world watches the borders, some are watching the betting markets. On the platform Polymarket, an anonymous bettor has just placed a staggering $400,000 wager that Vladimir Putin will be out of power by the end of 2026. This isn't just a wild guess. It's a reflection of a growing sentiment that the Russian president's position is more precarious than it appears. The odds currently sit at a low 11%, but the sheer volume of money moving into these prediction markets suggests that some insiders or deep-pocketed observers see cracks in the foundation that others are missing. Is this a sophisticated piece of insider information or simply a massive gamble on a regime's collapse?
The catalyst for this sudden lack of confidence in Putin's longevity is the devastating success of Ukrainian drone campaigns. Deep within Russian territory, the psychological and economic beating has begun. In 2026, long-range Ukrainian drones are no longer just hitting military outposts. They are systematically dismantling Russia's energy infrastructure. Oil refineries, the lifeblood of the Russian economy and war machine, are being turned into pillars of smoke and flame. These are not random strikes. They are precision operations aimed at the very heart of the Kremlin's power. For the first time in decades, the Russian public is feeling the physical consequences of a war that was supposed to stay beyond their borders.
Nowhere is the impact of these strikes felt more acutely than in occupied Crimea and the surrounding border regions. What was once the crown jewel of Putin's territorial gains has become a logistical nightmare. Fuel rationing has become a daily reality for the residents. Gas stations are no longer places of convenience. They are sites of desperation. The drones have successfully severed the supply lines,
leaving the peninsula struggling to maintain even basic services. For the Russian military, this is a strategic disaster, as their logistical vehicles and supply trucks are being picked off one by one, leaving the front lines hungry for the petrol they need to survive.
The Kremlin's response has been a mix of panic and stopgap measures. Forced to look elsewhere, Moscow is now importing usable gasoline from the very neighbors it once dominated. Belarus, Kazakhstan, and even China and India have become essential suppliers. Russia, despite being one of the world's largest producers of unrefined natural gas, has found its refining capacity so crippled that it cannot provide finished petrol to its own people. This reversal of roles is a humiliating blow to Putin's image as a self-sufficient strongman. The economic impact is becoming impossible to hide, even with the most aggressive state propaganda.
As the lines at gas stations grow longer, the silence of the Russian public is beginning to break. Despite the risks, social media has been flooded with videos of angry citizens expressing their frustration. Russians are no longer just complaining about the war, they are complaining about the basic inability to live their lives. Videos of miles-long queues and empty pumps are bypassing state censors, creating a narrative of failure that the Kremlin cannot easily suppress. Analysts point to this as a sign that the social contract, stability in exchange for political compliance, is finally being shredded by the reality of the conflict.
However, we must be careful not to mistake frustration for an imminent revolution. History is littered with Western predictions of Putin's demise that have aged like fine milk. Since 2022, we've heard reports of terminal illnesses, palace coups, and psychological breaks. Yet in 2026, Putin remains in the Kremlin. Western observers often view Russian internal politics through a lens of blind optimism, failing to understand the deep-rooted mechanisms of control that have been established over decades. Just recently, a video from a dissenting serviceman sparked rumors of a coup that vanished as quickly as it appeared. The Russian state is built to survive such tremors.
To understand why a coup is so difficult, one must look at the Rosguardia. This is Putin's private army, over 300,000 troops who report directly to him, bypass the traditional military command, and are specifically trained to identify and neutralize internal dissent. Along with 30,000 elite special units, these forces are the bedrock of the security state. They are better paid, better equipped, and more loyal than the regular conscripts fighting in Ukraine. While the regular army might grumble, the Rosguardia ensures that any spark of rebellion is extinguished before it can reach the gates of Moscow. This is a system designed for self-preservation above all else.
There is a dangerous misconception in the West that Putin's removal would lead to a peaceful resolution of the war. In reality, the political climate in the 2026 Kremlin is dominated by militant hardliners. If Putin were to be ousted today, his replacement would likely be someone far more radical, a war hawk dead set on the total destruction of Kyiv and a direct confrontation with NATO. These figures believe Putin has been too soft, too restrained. A regime change in Moscow wouldn't necessarily end the suffering, it could very well accelerate it. This is the grim reality that policymakers must face. The alternative to Putin might be significantly worse. While Russia grapples with internal pressure, the United States is facing its own crisis of military discipline. On July 2, 2026, the steps of the U.S. Capitol became the stage for a shocking act of defiance. Air Force Major Jason Watson, an active duty service member, appeared in full uniform to call for the impeachment of President Donald Trump. This was not a civilian protest, it was a direct challenge to the chain of command from within the ranks. Watson's actions have sent shockwaves through the Pentagon, raising fundamental questions about the role of the military in political life and the limits of free speech for those who wear the uniform. The scene turned from a political statement to a legal confrontation in minutes. As soon as Representative Al Green left the area, Capitol Police moved in. Because the demonstration was no longer sanctioned by a member of Congress, it became an illegal gathering. Major Watson was given multiple lawful orders to stop, which he refused. The images of an active duty officer being led away in handcuffs while in uniform are among the most controversial of the year. He now faces charges of crowding, obstructing, and incommoding. But the real battle will be fought under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which strictly prohibits officers from using contemptuous language toward the president.
Major Watson's grievances were not just personal, they were rooted in a deep-seated constitutional conflict. He accused the Trump administration of an unconstitutional usurpation of Congress's authority, specifically citing actions in Venezuela and Iran. Watson pointed to the deaths of 13 service members in the Iran conflict as a direct result of violating the War Powers Clause. For Watson, this wasn't about party politics. He explicitly stated he is not a Democrat. It was about the oath he took to the Constitution. However, the Air Force was quick to remind all personnel that service members are expected to uphold the highest standards of professionalism and stay out of political activities while in uniform.
As we survey the world in July 2026, the common thread is the fragility of established power. Whether it is the physical extraction of resources in the Arctic, the psychological warfare of drone strikes in Russia, or the internal fractures of the US military, the old rules are being rewritten. Putin's grip may be stable for now, but the cost of maintaining that stability is rising every day. Trump's ambitions for a place in history are met with both fanatical support and unprecedented resistance from within the very institutions he commands. We are witnessing a moment where the future is being decided not by grand treaties, but by the actions of individuals and the raw power of resources.
What does that $400,000 bet really tells us? It tells us that in 2026, the truth is often found in the margins of the market, rather than the headlines of the mainstream press. Polymarket and other prediction platforms have become the new intelligence agencies for the public, reflecting real-time sentiment that bypasses state-controlled media. While the odds of a Putin exit remain low, the fact that such a wager exists proves that the invincibility of the Kremlin is no longer a given. The drones hitting refineries aren't just destroying fuel, they are destroying the illusion of safety that has kept the Russian regime in power for 25 years. The gamble is no longer just on a website, it's on the streets of Moscow and the front lines of Ukraine.
Greenland's 57,000 residents, the Russian citizens waiting for petrol, and the American service members questioning their orders all share a common fate. They are the human element in a great power struggle that often forgets the people on the ground. As we look toward the end of 2026, the question is not just who will be in power, but what kind of world will they inherit? The battle for the Arctic, the war in Ukraine, and the political soul of the United States are all interconnected. These aren't isolated events. They are the symptoms of a global order in the midst of a violent, unpredictable transition. The truth is rarely found in the official statements, but in the cracks between them.
Returning to South Dakota, the faces of Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln remain silent witnesses to this modern turmoil. Whether or not a fifth face is ever carved into that mountain, the legacy of this era will be written in the actions of those who fought for their convictions, whether in uniform or at the ballot box. The proposition of Trump on Mount Rushmore serves as a final metaphor for the age, a desire for permanence in a world that is shifting like melting ice. As the sun sets on the Black Hills, the debate continues, reflecting a nation and a world that is still trying to decide what its future should look like and who should lead it there.
The year 2026 has already proven that the only constant is change. From the frozen reaches of the Arctic to the steps of the U.S. Capitol, the struggle for power and the search for truth continue to define our time. We will remain on the front lines, investigating the hidden narratives and bringing you the reality behind the global headlines. The stakes have never been higher, and the need for clarity has never been greater. Thank you for joining us on this investigation into the forces shaping our world. If you found this story insightful, please like, share, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to support our journey into the truth.